I'm Keith with the Trombone Shop at Schmidt Music, back with another instrument review for you. And today I have a little bit more unique member of the King trombone family, specifically the King 3BP medium bore tenor trombone. We of course have had a whole range of the 2Bs, 2B pluses, 2BLs, 3B configurations come through the shop that I've done videos with over the years, but the 3B plus 525 bore has been a little bit more unique. I've only had one or two used horns come in, and frankly, this is the first new one I've had come through the shop. So when we had gotten it ordered in, and the customer who ordered it very kindly offered the opportunity to make a video with it, we wanted to make sure to take them up on it. So I'm really excited to share this trombone with you. I'm going to take a play, talk about it afterwards. I'll be playing everything today on my trusty S.E. Shires Michael Davis Plus mouthpiece. I certainly don't have to tell you that king trombones have been a major part of our world for well over 100 years. Whether we're talking their small bore tenors, the 2Bs, the 3Bs, or getting into their large bore tenors, the 4Bs, 5Bs, or even like the king duo gravis and other bass trombones, they have really been a mainstay for us for truly generations. But among all of those different models, what has been a little bit more rare for at least I to encounter has been their medium bore, the 3B plus, the 525 bore instruments. And maybe in part because, especially in this day and age, we just don't see as many medium bore tenors out in the wild as we do small bore tenor, as we do large bore tenor. I think it has a very particular, niche, but it can bring a lot of really, really great stuff to the table as well, and in particular, really give us some versatility in a lot of ways. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, this is not a model we have coming through very often, and in fact, we really only get these as special orders. So, first off, thank you very much to Ray in California for allowing us the time to spend with his trombone before we get it sent out to him. At this point, King doesn't even have this model on their catalog, but it is available for special order. So let's talk through the specifics first. So just like your classic 3B, this has an 8-inch bell. This particular 3B Plus has a gold brass bell, standard yellow brass tuning slide, reverse tuning slide here, standard hand slide setup, nickel silver chrome plated inner tubes, nickel silver outer tubes, a little bit lighter weight, not their super lightweight setup, but then a yellow brass crook here. And of course, really the only big difference between this and a standard 3B is going to be that 525 bore. So what does that mean for us? What does it bring to the table? Well, first off, there is a reason why I chose to play both some classical repertoire and, jazz combo repertoire, because there are certainly a lot of settings where we can be using our medium bore tenors in our quote-unquote classical settings as well as our commercial settings, right? There have certainly been times when I have used a medium bore tenor in our orchestral setting. So for example, if we're doing more late classical or early, even up to mid romantic repertoire, depending on what our section is using. A lot of times if I'm going to have the principal player is going to be playing alto on some of this repertoire, I'm likely going to be pulling out maybe my small bore tenor, or depending on what the bass trombonist is using, right? The medium bore tenor can be a really nice in-between. Or if we have, again, certain settings, for example, like bolero, there's certainly we can have a place for that medium bore tenor where we can get some of the shimmer out of the instrument where we need to have that in something like bolero, but it's still going to have some depth of sound. And then, of course, when we're looking at the jazz side of things, there's this really nice depth of sound. There's a little bit of a softness to it that really comes to mind. So how does this particular trombone play? First off, it plays a lot like a king for me. So as many of you know, I am a 3B player, have been for decades now. And there's obviously a lot of similarities to this, but what I like about this instrument is I feel like I can lean into it a little bit more. And I can, in particular, I think both because of the 525 bore and the gold brass bell, I can play around with the timbre a little bit. With the blues, for example, I felt like I was able to push the dynamic, try to give it a little bit of edge, but it still retained a lot of core. It didn't get super, super edgy and bright. It still gave me some room to play with while still giving me access to the upper register. I certainly felt comfortable going up to the 12th partial, or as I've been testing it, even beyond. It's still been really responsive, but a nice kind of balance of sound within all of this. And when I was playing the ballad, again, I was able to get this little bit of softness out of it, a little bit more roundness to the outside of the sound, but still had clarity to it. Sometimes when, certain medium bore setups, or especially if we are using large bore tenors on those type of jazz settings, depending on our approach, sometimes they can get really, really woofy. They start to lose definition, and depending on your approach, that can certainly be a nice thing. But again, I felt like this had a really nice balance to it. But again, when I was going through and playing some of more of the classical repertoire, I also felt like it remained stable. One of the challenges a lot of folks have using small bore tenors, for example, in those type of settings is we're so used to using such a different airflow with our large bore tenors, it can be really hard to dial that back. And I certainly did find with this, I had to play those excerpts differently. I had to play tuba mirum differently than I would on my large bore tenor. But I still felt with just a little bit of adjustment, I was able to get that depth of sound stability with it. And frankly, there was some really nice phrasing, some nice color timbre, differentiation I was able to play with, a little bit of lightness that was kind of nice. Again, depending on the orchestral setting I was playing, I was in, the size of the orchestra, the section that I'm with, I think there could be some really nice things happening with all of this. So overall, like I said, it's a wonderful, wonderful instrument. And again, these medium bore tenors, they are a little bit more particular, but I think they really do have a lot of nice settings where you're looking for an instrument for some versatility. Whether, we're going through, I work with a lot of more experienced players who, maybe they just don't quite have the lung capacity to fill up a large bore tenor trombone anymore. Again, I find with the right approach, if you're coming at it with the right air concept, you can still get a ton of depth of sound out of it. You can still have a timbre, a response that's absolutely appropriate in our concert band, wind ensemble, orchestral settings with the right approach. Or, of course, we can go through and take it and we can use it in a big band or a combo setting depending how we play. So, a wonderful instrument. I'm super excited for Ray to get it into their hands, to be able to experience it. And of course, I'm so grateful to be able to share my experience with it with you. So, as always, if you have any thoughts, comments about what you heard, what we talked about today, please leave them in the comments. If you haven't already done so, think about hitting that like button. Think about subscribing to our channel if you're not already a subscriber. We'd love to have you as a part of our community. And of course, you can find the Trombone Shop on Instagram and Facebook. As always, thanks for watching.